Good morning, and welcome to worship as Central Christian Church in this new way. If you are a member or a friend of this congregation, we welcome you. I think there are about 50 or so of us who are connected right now. If you have just happened across us in the world of Facebook or YouTube, we also welcome you this morning. I would ask you as we begin, if you haven't already done it, we are going to celebrate communion in this service. So if you have something in your kitchen that you could gather to partake, any kind of bread or cracker, any kind of juice, we can bring those together later to partake later. And I would just ask you for your patience. This is our first attempt at live streaming worship. We've put this together quickly, as have many other communities of faith, and we'll probably get better at it. But it is good for us to be together. It's been quite a week, and we join together to praise God, even as we cope with the new realities in our lives. Let us come. All who thirst, come to the water. You who long for the water of life, come and drink. Dip your soul in the river of God's goodness. Quench your thirst in the well of God's grace. For God is here with us, offering living water to all who would drink. Let us worship God together. We will sing a hymn, God of Grace and God of Glory. If you are on Facebook Live, you should find a photo of that hymn that we have posted. Danielle will lead us, and please feel free to join in.
up to the Lord the prayers that are on our hearts. I invite you where you're at this moment to pray with me. Lord of living water, pour your mercy on us. Wash us clean and make us true disciples. Help us move past the paths of selfishness and stubbornness to the channels of hope and peace. Enable us to place our whole trust in your love. We present the names of those who are near and dear to us to your throne of grace and prayer. Remind us again that you also hold us dearly and offer to us your healing grace. Keep us strong and give us courage to serve you in all that we do. We pause in our hearts. Replace fear during this increasing lockdowns and self-quarantine with focus and quiet action. Help us in these unforeseen ways to grow in our understanding of our connectedness. Safeguard the emergency and the healthcare teams and families exposed across our nation and across this world. We name them out loud, thinking that the peoples that are in lockdown or in self-quarantine. And let us all together where we are, let us pray the prayer that was taught to us by Jesus. Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever.
Today's reading is from Exodus 17, 1 through 7. This is our third Sunday of Lent. Please listen. The whole Israelite community broke camp and set out from the Sin desert to continue their journey, as the Lord commanded. They set up their camp at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people argued with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why are you arguing with me? Why are you testing the Lord?" But the people were very thirsty for water there, and they complained to Moses, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What should I do with these people? They are getting ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses,
Go on ahead of the people and take some of Israel's elders with you. Take them in your hand the shepherd's rod that you need to strike the Nile River, and go. I'll be standing there in front of you on the rock of Horeb. Hit the rock. Water will come out of it, and the people will be able to drink.
Moses did. So while Israel's elders watched, he came and called the place Messiah and Miriam, because the Israelites argued with and tested the Lord, asking, "Is the Lord ready with us or not?" The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Well, good morning, friends. This is kind of different and weird. I would love to see all of your smiling faces besides my own son sitting here in front of me. But we are where we are at. So I was thinking about this passage this week. All right, and how Moses was leading them out of Egypt, and how everything was going right until they came to a place with no water. It's kind of what's happening this week. We're to a place where there's no water, but yet we're still thirsty. But Moses did the best thing he could. He went to the Lord. He said, "What can I do? Where can I go? Help me with something." So the Lord told him what to do. Take your staff that you had, go to this place, take some elders, hit a rock, and I'll be there. I'll take care of it. Easy peasy, right? Right. But what really struck me with this passage was the leap of faith that Moses was taking. It's kind of like what we're doing now. We're taking a leap of faith that things are going to get better. Things are going to be just fine. Everything is going to work out. Now, there's a Danish philosopher, Kierkegaard, who explained it more as a leap into faith. It's where things happen with no evidence to back them. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're going out on a leap of faith that everything's going to be fine. Because I'm sure a lot of my friends out there, when you're getting ready for school and you're getting ready for your day, you have faith that that school bus is going to pick you up, or mom and dad are going to take you to the right school. Because sometimes, mom and dads forget. But that's what we need to do now. And when we meditate, prayer, or whatever we do, one thing we can do is we can ask God to put a little love out there, to put a little compassion out there, to be helpful. Because Kierkegaard also said that when we pray, it is not to influence God, but it is to influence the one giving the prayer. So my friends, I send you love and peace. See you soon.
A week ago, I could not have imagined that today would feel so much like a wilderness. These recent days have brought dizzying changes to our lives, one of which we are experiencing right now as we worship virtually. If you had asked me early in the week, I would have said, "Cancel worship? What are you talking about?" If you had asked me Thursday morning, I would have said, "Well, we should worship this week, and then we'll see." By Thursday evening, it was very clear to me and to our leadership that we needed to do our part to slow down the spread of the coronavirus by practicing social distancing, a phrase that was not even in my consciousness until this week. Our decision was made based on our shared values of love and care for one another, and especially love and care for the most vulnerable among us. And I'm convinced it's the right path to take, but it is taking us through territory that is unfamiliar. And not just because we're using Facebook and YouTube to connect with each other. This and so many other disruptions that we are experiencing are causing us to ask new questions, like, how are we church when we're not able to physically gather? How am I myself when I am not doing the things I normally do, going the places I normally go, seeing the people I normally see? My friends, we are in wilderness territory. This is not the first time in my life that I have identified with the people of Israel as they wandered in the wilderness. I suspect that many of you like me, have found yourselves in uncharted territory of uncertainty or loss at other points in your life. And perhaps, like the Israelites, you have grumbled or complained, perhaps have argued with God, perhaps have felt like you were dying of thirst. That's the issue in the story told in the 17th chapter of Exodus. The Israelites surely must be carrying emotional and mental stress, but it is the physical side that cries out. It's those basics of food and water absent in the wilderness and necessary for human life. 3 days after their exodus, their exit from Egypt, they come to a place where the water is bitter, and they complain to Moses. In the chapter right before this one, they're hungry, and they complain to Moses. That's the story where God starts sending manna, that flaky substance that nourishes their bodies, starts sending that one day at a time. And from there, we're told, the Israelites continue their journey, and they come to this place called Rephidim. And here, the problem is not that the water is bitter, it's that there is no water at all. So now the people escalate from complaining to quarreling, and I might even say threatening. Moses, give us some water. Did you bring us out of Egypt to die of thirst in the wilderness? Couldn't we have just stayed home and died? It would have been a lot less trouble. And this isn't the last time they'll complain either. It happens over and over again in this long story of 40 years in the wilderness. God provides food, they complain about water. God provides water, they make an idol to worship. It takes a long time for the people to understand. Now, it's easy with the luxury of hindsight to be critical of those Israelites. They keep on getting proof that God will take care of them, but they can't hang on to it. Why were they so forgetful? On the other hand, if we have ever been in a situation of true thirst, not just forgetting to bring our water bottle in the car, but scary, life-sapping thirst, we don't dismiss the complaining. Isn't that why so many people have stocked up on water this week? It's so basic to life. And even the thought of not having it is scary. The problem of the Israelites is that they are unable to see that God is with them in their thirst. They act as if God is present only when their needs are being met. They refuse to allow God any life apart from their own well-being. So if they're in good shape, then God is present. If they're not in good shape, then God is absent. And it turns their prayer into a kind of demand. It's a test of God's faithfulness, which is why they call this place Massa and Meribah, a reminder of their quarreling and testing of God. How different it is for the Israelites or for us when we stop making our own comfort, our own security, our own physical or spiritual well-being the condition for our trust in God. When we are able to live with uncertainty and with God, and live into new ways of thinking and acting, in this new reality of wilderness. The words of writer and healer Dory Midnight have been helpful to me in this sense. Some of you I know have seen her poem entitled Wash Your Hands, and I will share just some of her words of that poem. We are humans, she writes, relearning to wash our hands. Washing our hands is an act of love. Washing our hands is an act of care. Washing our hands is an act that puts the hypervigilant body at ease. Washing our hands helps us return to ourselves by washing away what does not serve. Wash your hands, she goes on, like you are washing the only teacup left that your great-grandmother carried across the ocean, like you are washing the hair of a beloved who is dying, like you are washing the feet of Grace Lee Boggs, Beyonce, Jesus, your auntie, Audrey Lorde, Mary Oliver, you get the picture. Like this water is poured from a jug your best friend just carried for 3 miles from the spring they had to climb a mountain to reach. Like water is a precious resource made from time and miracle. My friends, she writes, it is always true, these things. It has already been time. It is always true that we should move with care and intention, asking, do you want to bump elbows instead with everyone we meet? It is always true that people are living with one lung, with immune systems that don't work so well, or perhaps too hard, fighting against themselves. It is already true that people are hoarding the things the most vulnerable need. It is already time that we might want to fly on airplanes less and not go to work when we are sick. It is already time that temporarily non-disabled people think about people living with chronic illness and disabled folks, that young people think about old people. It is already time to not take it personally when someone doesn't want to hug you. It is already time to slow down and feel how scared we are. In the middle of the night, she concludes the poem, when you wake up with terror in your belly, it is time to think about stardust and geological time, redwoods and dance parties, and mushrooms remediating toxic soil. It is time to care for one another, to pray over water, to wash away fear every time we wash our hands. In this wilderness time, we are learning our way. We are learning to be church. We are learning how to be ourselves, and we are learning in new ways how to be a nation and a world that looks out for one another, and especially the most vulnerable. To do this, we must take care of our own souls and spirits as well as our bodies. We must ground ourselves in the bedrock that is our faith. Our friend Gina, who sometimes leads us in meditation here at Central Christian Church, has shared this centering practice that I, in turn, share with you. Take 10 deep breaths. As you inhale, silently say to yourself, in the present moment. As you exhale, say, I am well. So we're going to do that. Do that with me. We're not going to do 10 breaths. Let's just do 3, and I'll say it out loud, and you breathe. Well, I'll breathe too. We'll all breathe. Ready? In the present moment. in the present moment. I am well. In the present moment, I am well. It would be absurd for me to say to you, don't be anxious. We're going to be anxious in this time. But remember to breathe and look for the things that will refresh your soul. 2 people I know yesterday told me they had cleaned out a closet or a cabinet. Not that that would refresh my soul. Someone else asked if I had a jigsaw puzzle they could borrow. Slow down and rest as you are able to, and also reach out as you are able to, knowing that many other people are in need of care. It is a journey, dear ones, this journey of Lent, this journey of life. And when you find yourself in that place of wilderness, arguing and testing and wondering, is the Lord really with us or not? Know that you are not alone. You are not alone in the wondering. You are not alone in the arguing. You are not alone even in the loneliness. As humans, we have always struggled with understanding what is going on in our lives and in our world and where God is present when we are nearly dying of thirst. Know that that struggle is real, but know too that God is with you in your thirst. God is with you in your anxiety and your fear. And as you reach out to others with compassion and care, you are the presence of God for them. May the water that sprung from the rock at Horeb, the water that Jesus would later describe as gushing up to eternal life, the water with which we are washing our hands multiple times a day, may this water cleanse and refresh us for the lives we are called to lead. This is the good news. Thanks be to God. Around this table, we gather each week to share gifts. We bring what we have, and today we are not physically present, but we still are able to give through Givelify, our online giving app. And here at this table, we receive these symbols of bread and cup, or whatever you have with you today. Symbols of life given, shared, shed for us and with us. Symbols of that love that lived clearly in the life of Jesus and comes to each one of us from God's loving heart. We gather together in many places. We gather across the internet, and together we are the body of Christ. We are the people of God. So let us prepare our hearts for this meal by praying together.
Gracious and loving God, we give thanks for both the cup and the bread, which represent your body, blood, and worship. We know, Lord, that this is an action that is not meant to keep us apart, but to bring us together. So, as we prepare to take your body and your cup, we ask that we are reminded of those who are with us at this time. May we be conscious of our connectedness. May we be conscious of our commitment to one another. We pray these things in the name of your Son. Jesús, la noche que fue traicionado, se tomó el pan y después de dar gracias lo partió diciendo, esto es mi cuerpo, por vosotros ha partido. Haga esto en memoria.
And after supper, he took the cup, and he gave it to them, saying, this cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for the forgiveness of sin. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. As our musicians play, we are invited to take the time to partake of the elements that we have and to rest in the reflection and goodness of God. As we come to the close of our service, I want to encourage us to stay in touch with each other in this time of social distancing, and we're going to be experimenting with that as a congregation over the next days and weeks, but also just each of us to reach out to other people in the congregation and beyond. I want to say thank you, especially to our musicians, our guests, Michael Strauss, and our in-house musicians, Roger and Kent, as well as to the staff and our families who have helped us in innumerable ways, but certainly with this experiment in virtual worship. At this time, we will hear from Danielle, who will sing our closing musical piece of the service. And now, wherever and however we are gathered, wherever and however we go in these days, may we know the blessing of God, our Creator, our Redeemer, and our Sustainer.